Hello world! Today's highest rated suggested moderator module vlog topic comes from username The Obvious Espionager from Washington, who says many intelligent empires such as the Incas, Romans, Egyptians, and Aztecs lasted thousands of years, but suddenly fell, disappeared, and were replaced. Do you think we may be headed in a similar direction at some point? The empires that you cited fell for reasons that I think today are largely outdated. For example, the Incas and Aztecs. I mean, there's no one reason that any empire falls, but the Incas and Aztecs fell primarily because they were struck by rampant disease and death, and then, other imperialist empires were able to swoop in and take over. I don't really think that we have imperialism today, and the closest thing that we've had to imperialism in the modern era has been, George W. Bush-style foreign policy of invading another country and trying to nation build, and that's a foreign policy that the American voters rejected with the election of Barack Obama. At the very least, the United States is not going to fall in the same way that those empires fell, but that alone does not mean that the United States is safe. But before we go any further down that road, we need to update our terms. The term empire doesn't accurately describe what the United States is today. A much more apt term would be superpower. The basic definition of a superpower is any nation-state with adequate power to exert a dominating influence over any part of the globe. Now, after World War II, there emerged two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. It stayed that way all the way through the Cold War, and then upon the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 90s, it was just the United States, and it's been that way ever since. Now, the collapse of the Soviet Union should serve as a reminder to Americans that superpowers can indeed collapse quickly and unexpectedly, and I think that leads naturally to the question, is the United States in danger of collapsing in the same way the Soviet Union did? I don't think so. At the very least, not in the foreseeable future, because while the collapse of the Soviet Union was unexpected, that's not to say that it's not easily explainable. Those living in the Soviet Union lived under a totalitarian system, a one-party system. Other political parties were banned. There were a whole lot of ethnic disputes that were being repressed. And so in the late 80s, when there was just a little tiny bit of liberalization, that led to a sudden release of all that pent-up aggression. We don't have pent-up aggression to that extent here in the United States. By and large, I still think that 99.9% of all Americans believe in the concept of America, one nation. And that right there is the basic answer to the question you guys asked in the moderator module. Is America doomed to some, sudden catastrophic failure? No. At the very least, not for as far into the future as anyone can reasonably project. We here in America could, however, fall victim to our own hubris, and while that wouldn't lead to a sudden catastrophic failure of the American experiment, what it could do is lead to a slow, steady decline out of superpower status and ultimately possibly out of global relevance. Fareed Zakaria wrote a great article a while back for Time called Are America's Best Days Behind Us?, where he talks about how Americans tend to take our position as the world's only superpower for granted, and as a result those in Washington tend to get sidetracked by sideshows and not discuss issues of real importance, while all the while we're slipping backwards and other nations are catching up by all sorts of metrics. The United States may or may not remain a global superpower. I hope that we do. But if we do, I can say with relative certainty that we will not remain the world's only superpower. My question is, do superpowers matter as much in the 21st century as they mattered in the 20th century? We are more connected now as a planet than we ever have been before, and moving forward, we're only going to get more and more and more connected. The greatest challenges our generation face are challenges of sustainability, and sustainability issues are no one nation's to own. The challenges of sustainability are globally shared challenges. As sustainability issues continue to come to the fore, I mean, maybe I'm just being blindly optimistic here, but I think we're going to have to work together And so I think that we ultimately will work together as a planet. And actually, I think we're already beginning to see the early stages of that. Take, for example, the issue of global climate change. Well, admittedly, we haven't taken any coordinated global action in a big way to combat climate change. The first step is just having this shared global awareness of the problem, and I think that's starting to develop. Once we have a global consensus, we can take coordinated global action, and building a global consensus is going to become easier and easier as we become more and more connected as a planet. So, where the 20th century was about which country can dominate, I think the 21st century is about who can best cooperate. That's it for me for now. Thanks for watching. Please don't be a zombie. Goodbye.
If you like what you just saw, if Dan put you in a state of awe, subscribe to him and click the orange button. It really means something. If you do that, that'd be really cool.
Oh my god!